batong bakal na taga-Frisco, laging ubos ang sweldo niya sa disco. Mga problema niya'y kanyang nalilimutan pag siya'y umuyugyog, sumasayaw sa umaga. Dispatsadora, sa gabi siya'y bonggang-bongga. Pagsapit ng dilim, nasa Coco-Batana, ani batong bakal, sa disco is nabera, sa disco siyang reyna.
Sa langit mong lugaw, may dilag ang tula at awit sa paglayang minamahal.
Ang iskap ng watawat mo'y tagumpay na nagdidingding.
Ang bituin at araw na kailan pa may di magdidingin.
Tumanang araw na buwan, maging magsira, joy ay langit sa ating
Ang mga tarnong dahil sa'yo.
Lead us, Lord. Touch our hearts when the world is falling apart. Restore peace when there is suffering. Give us strength to stand and bring hope to a weary land. Lead us, Lord, in preserving the sanctity of our nation. Guide our leaders along the path of righteousness, that they may lead with wisdom and compassion. Lead us, Lord, in serving non-resident Filipinos. Guide us as we prepare them for their new journey in life, and make us your instrument of faith and strength. Walk with us as we take the path before us. Be our light in moments of uncertainty, hardship, and weariness. We offer to you our hearts and all that we do, trusting you will lead us to what is good and true. Amen.
Ladies and gentlemen, you may take your seats. Opening the 2026 Filipino Diaspora Summit and to share the CFO's vision for diaspora engagement as a cornerstone of Philippine development, let us welcome with a loud round of applause the chairperson of the Commission on Filipinos Overseas, Secretary Dante Clink ang the second.
I thought we were going to say the third there for a minute, but Tristan Burnett, IOM Philippines, Senator Shelley Calvo, excuse me, of our the Guam legislature. Many of the panelists here, I see Kulas, Genevieve, our presidential awardees, I see many of them here. So we're Quizon, Tercera, and others. I may be missing you out there. Forgive me for my poor eyesight. Members of the diplomatic corps, delegates from all over the world this morning, distinguished guests, good morning. Welcome to the 2026 Filipino Diaspora Summit, to the celebration of the 46th anniversary of the Commission on Filipinos Overseas. Today, we are joined by more than 350 Filipino delegates from 30 countries and territories. Clearly, Filipino migrants hold a strong transformative power in advancing the cultural, economic, and political goals of the Philippines. Before my appointment to the CFO, our anniversary celebration was limited to the Commission's employees, partners, and friends. Last year, we held the CFO 45th Anniversary Forum, a milestone celebration dedicating the event to a day of dialogue, inspiration, and festivities with representatives from the academe, media, and civil society. To improve on this initiative, this year's celebration, we invited the stakeholders in the migration conversations, the NRFs. This is a new term that we're trying out, the non-resident Filipinos. We adopted the Global Summit concept and built on the work of the previous administrations. We channeled the ties forged over the decades into new partnerships and connections among Filipinos across the globe. That connection is made not only by blood, but by a shared history, common values, and a collective aspiration to see our nation flourish on the global stage. In this light, this year's theme, Transformation through Diaspora Engagement, Harnessing Filipino Global Power in Advancing the Philippines' Cultural, Economic, and Political Goals, is especially timely. Our slogan, Dugong Pinoy, Filipinos Transforming the World, serves as a reminder that the Filipino spirit knows no borders. Established in 1980 through Batas Pambansa 79, the Commission on Filipinos Overseas was founded to promote and uphold the rights and welfare of Filipinos who have settled abroad and to strengthen their ties to the Philippines. According to official government data, there are 10.8 million overseas Filipinos. Approximately 60% of this total comprises the non-resident Filipinos, the NRFs. These are most of you attending this event today. The permanent and long-term migrants, Filipinos married to foreigners, dual citizens, expatriates, and all their descendants. NRFs include citizens, permanent residents, marriage migrants, professionals, entrepreneurs, artists, scientists, educators, innovators, public servants, and community leaders across more than 200 countries and territories. For many years, conversations about Filipinos abroad often centered on remittances. However, we recognize that our NRFs are more than just economic actors. They are also active partners in national development, bringing invaluable experience, innovation, and global innovation to our shores. They share knowledge, create global networks, and build businesses, preserve and promote Filipino heritage, and influence international conversations, serving as ambassadors of the Filipino spirit around the world. Building on this realization, the CFO has embraced a broader vision, something more consistent with the law that created it. The CFO is not just an agency that prepares Filipinos for departure. This agency also fosters lasting partnerships with NRFs. Through diaspora engagement for national development, addressing the pressing needs of our people, and helping realize our collective aspirations for a better future. The strategic pivot represents a significant milestone in the history of the CFO. marking a strategic shift in our perspective. We view migration as the beginning of a new partnership and recognize NRFs as vital collaborators in national development. In this framework, NRFs are beneficiaries of government programs as well as active partners in building stronger, more competitive, and globally connected Philippines. This is why the CFO has anchored its renewed vision on three interconnected pillars of diaspora engagement: political, economic, and cultural. These pillars reflect the many ways our NRFs contribute to nation building and the ways in which the CFO seeks to strengthen their enduring relationship with the motherland to advance the country's progress by integrating their expertise and global networks into our national development agenda. So first, political engagement. The voices, perspectives, and experiences of NRFs enrich national discourse, empowering them to advocate for policies and partnerships that advance the national interest on the international stage. For decades, the CFO has consistently sought to strengthen these ties by developing programs that foster informed and actively engaged diaspora communities. Through our regular Ugnayan and Kamustahan sessions and other platforms, we provide ways for our NRFs to express concerns, share insights, and discuss how they can directly influence policies that impact both their lives abroad and the development of their motherland. Your voices and experiences abroad help shape our democracy here, hone our system of government, and even elevate public expectations from our leaders. The CFO also continues to support government efforts that promote civic participation, such as overseas voting, which empowers our NRFs to exercise their democratic rights, ensure their voices are heard, and helps shape our nation. In an increasingly interconnected world, the NRFs have emerged as a vital source of the country's soft power and international influence. Their professional achievements, community leadership, and success stories have turned them into unofficial ambassadors of the country, exemplifying the Filipino brand of excellence in culture, putting the Philippines in the radar of foreign governments. As a preview of one of our newest initiatives, and this is just a teaser, the CFO hopes to launch a new program where we partner with our NRFs more directly. We have been holding public consultations on the feasibility of designating honorary diaspora representatives, or HDRs, who will serve as non-diplomatic, community-based entities dedicated to the cause of the diaspora engagement for the Philippine national development. We will give you more updates on this later. For now, let me go on to the second engagement, economic. Historically, the contributions of our NRFs were primarily measured by remittances. We are now shifting our focus toward mobilizing the expertise, investments, philanthropy, and global networks to foster sustainable national development. Our North Star is to empower Filipino migrants to ensure that migration becomes a choice, not a necessity, as directed by President Ferdinand Bongbong Marcos Jr. Through the CFO's Lingkod sa Kapwa Pilipino program, or Linkapil, we celebrate the transfer of resources from our NRFs to support small-scale, high-impact projects that address the country's social and economic development needs, particularly in sectors as education, healthcare, livelihood, disaster response, and small infrastructure. From 1990 to 2025, the CFO has channeled a total of 3.4 billion pesos in financial and material donations to local development projects through this initiative. And truth be told, this is probably just a fraction of what Filipinos like you give back to the country. Another key initiative is the Balink Bayan program, the NRF's one-stop online portal for diaspora engagement. It offers resources for starting businesses, donating, volunteering, and accessing online government services in the Philippines. Through this platform, the CFO facilitates NRF participation in investments, philanthropy, and skills transfer, effectively bridging the gap between the NRFs and the motherland while encouraging to serve as active development partners. This reflects the CFO's new strategic direction. We view the diaspora not merely as providers of resources, but as active co-creators of solutions for national progress. Third, cultural engagement. Our shared identity serves as the strongest bond uniting Filipinos across continents. Our NRFs serve as ambassadors of our values and traditions, embodying the Filipino spirit that connects our nation to the global community. To nurture those bonds, culture, and ensure that succeeding generations of NRFs remain deeply rooted in our heritage. Preserving our identity is not merely about remembering our roots. It is about ensuring that our rich history and vibrant traditions remain a living, breathing force in the lives of Filipinos, no matter where they call home. And this brings me to one of the most important priorities of the CFO today, the Filipino diaspora youth. The future of diaspora engagement depends not only on those who have migrated, but also on our ability to inspire younger generations to embrace their heritage and bridge the gap between their host countries and their ancestral home. Although many young Filipinos residing abroad are no longer identify with the Philippines, they possess a deep desire to connect with their roots and carry a legacy that deserves to be nurtured and celebrated. They represent the community leaders, innovators, entrepreneurs, artists, diplomats, and advocates of tomorrow who will carry the torch of our national identity forward. To this end, the CFO has consistently implemented programs to strengthen identity formation and foster engagement among the youth diaspora, one of which is the Youth Leaders in the Diaspora program, or ULEAD. ULEAD is a cultural immersion initiative in the Philippines designed for Filipino youth born overseas or those who migrated at an early age and have a limited familiarity with the country. The program enables participants to rediscover their Filipino identity, develop leadership skills, build global networks, and explore ways to contribute to the development of their ancestral homeland. Another key initiative is the Philippine Schools Overseas, or the PSOs, for which the CFO serves as the Secretary of the Interagency Council on PSOs. It provides technical and administrative support to teachers, students, and the broader NRF community. Beyond serving as centers of learning, PSOs play a vital role in preserving and promoting Filipino culture, values, language, and identity among younger generations living abroad. And in doing so, they address some of the enduring social costs of labor migration by providing children overseas with a meaningful connection to their heritage and a strong sense of belonging to the Philippines despite their physical distance. Today, this is the transformation that the CFO celebrates. Evolving from an agency traditionally focused on preparing Filipinos for departure, the CFO has emerged as the government's leading institution for diaspora engagement for national development. We remain committed to President Marcos's vision for migration as a driver of national progress. This strategic shift does not conclude the Filipinos' relationship with the Philippines. Instead, it fosters a dynamic, lifelong partnership that empowers our NRFs to serve as active stakeholders in our country's long-term growth. Through today's summit, we reaffirm our commitment to deepening our partnership with NRFs to build a future where the Filipino diaspora serves as a catalyst for cultural vitality, economic prosperity, and national progress. To our NRFs, thank you for continuing to carry the Filipino spirit wherever life may take you. Your achievements are our pride. Your successes shift the global spotlight on our country, and your partnerships ensures our nation's story remains one of collective growth and enduring unity. Together, let us redefine the boundaries of our nation's potential and harness the collective power of our global community to secure a brighter future for every Filipino. Maraming salamat po. Mabuhay ang migranteng Pilipino at mabuhay ang bagong Pilipinas.
Thank you, Secretary Dante Click Ang II, for your inspiring words and commitment to positioning the Filipino diaspora as vital partners in achieving the Philippines' development goal. We are deeply honored to welcome our diaspora leaders, advocates, entrepreneurs, cultural ambassadors, and champions of the Filipino community who have traveled from almost 30 countries across the globe to be with us here in Manila. Representing the Filipino diaspora, please stand to be recognized, our non-resident Filipinos from Australia.
Manila, I keep coming back to Manila. Simply ain't no place like Manila. Manila, I'm coming home. I walk the streets of San Francisco. I tried the rides in Disneyland. Dated a million girls in Sydney. Somehow I feel like I don't belong. Hinahana, hanap kita Manila. Ang ingay mong kay sarap sa tenga. Mga jeepney mong nagliliparan. Mga babae mong nagagandahan. Take me back in your arms, Manila, and promise me you'll never let go.
Austria.
Promise me you'll never let go. Manila, Manila, I keep coming back to Manila. Simply ain't no place like Manila. Manila, I'm coming home. Hanap kita Manila. Ang ingay mong kay sarap sa tenga. Mga jeepney mong nagliliparan. Mga babae mong nagagandahan. Take me back in your arms, Manila, and promise me you'll never let go. Promise me you'll never let go. Manila, Manila, miss you like hell, Manila. No place in the world like Manila. I'm coming home to stay. Manila, I keep coming back to Manila. Simply ain't no place like Manila. Manila, I'm coming
Bahrain.
I walk the streets of San Francisco. I tried the rides in Disneyland. Dated a million girls in Sydney. Somehow I feel like I don't belong. Hinahana, hanap
Cambodia.
kita Manila. Ang ingay mong kay sarap sa tenga. Mga jeepney mong nagliliparan. Mga babae mong nagagandahan. Take me back in your arms,
Canada.
Manila, and promise me you'll never let go. Promise me you'll never let go. Manila, Manila, I keep coming back to Manila. Simply ain't no place like Manila. Manila, I'm coming home.
Czech Republic. Denmark.
Manila, ang ingay mong kay sarap sa tenga. Mga jeepney mong nagliliparan. Mga babae mong nagagandahan. Take me back in your arms, Manila.
France.
Promise me you'll never let go. Promise me you'll never let go. Manila, Manila, miss you like hell, Manila. No place in the world like Manila.
Germany.
Manila, I keep coming back to Manila. Simply ain't no place like Manila.
Hong Kong.
Manila, I'm coming home. I walk the street
Arabia.
Hinahanap kita Manila. Ang ingay mong kay sarap sa tenga. Mga jeepney mong nagliliparan. Mga babae mong
Indonesia.
nagkagandahan. Take me back in your arms, Manila. And promise me you'll never let go.
Ireland.
Promise me you'll never let go. Manila, Manila. I keep coming back to Manila.
Italy.
Simply ain't no place like Manila. Manila, I'm coming home.
Japan.
Hanap kita Manila.
Malaysia.
Kay sarap sa tenga. Mga jeepney mong nagliliparan. Mga babae mong nagagandahan. Take me back in your arms, Manila. And promise me you'll never let
Norway.
Promise me you'll never let go. Manila, Manila. Miss you like hell, Manila. No place in the world
Oman.
like Manila. I'm coming home to stay. Manila.
Poland.
I keep coming back to Manila. Simply ain't no place like Manila. Manila, I'm coming home. I walked the streets of San Francisco. I tried the rides in Disneyland.
Qatar.
Million girls in Sydney. Somehow I feel like I don't belong. Hanap kita Manila. Ang ingay mong kay sarap sa tenga. Mga jeepney mong nagliliparan. Mga babae mong
Saudi Arabia.
Take me back in your arms, Manila. And promise me you'll never let go. Promise me you'll never let go. Manila, Manila.
Singapore.
Back to Manila. Simply ain't no place like Manila. Manila, I'm coming home.
South Korea.
Hanap kita Manila. Ang ingay mong kay sarap sa tenga.
Switzerland.
Nagliliparan. Mga babae mong nagagandahan. Take me back in your arms, Manila. And promise me you'll never
Taiwan.
let go. Promise me you'll never let go. Manila, Manila. Miss you like hell, Manila. No place in the world like Manila.
The Netherlands.
I'm coming home to stay. Manila, I'll keep coming back to Manila. Simply ain't no place like Manila.
Timor-Leste.
Manila, I'm coming home. I walked the streets of San Francisco. I tried the rides in this.
United Arab Emirates.
Dated a million girls in Sydney. Somehow I feel like I don't belong. Hanap kita Manila. Ang ingay mong kay sarap sa
United Kingdom.
mga jeepney mong nagliliparan. Mga babae mong nagagandahan. Take me back in your arms, Manila. And promise me you'll never Promise me you'll never let go. Manila, Manila, I keep coming back.
United States of America.
Simply ain't no place like Manila. Manila, I'm coming home.
And the Philippines.
Manila, I keep coming back to Manila. Simply ain't no place like Manila. Manila, I'm coming home. I walked the streets of San Francisco. I tried the rides in Disneyland. Dated a million girls in Sydney. Somehow I feel like I don't belong. Hinahanap kita Manila. Ang ingay mong kay sarap sa tenga. Mga jeepney mong nagliliparan. Mga babae mong nagagandahan. Take me back in your arms, Manila. And promise me you'll never let go. Promise me you'll never let go. Manila, Manila, I keep coming.
And last but not the least, Turkey.
Manila, I keep coming back to Manila. Simply ain't no place like Manila. Manila, I'm coming home. I walked the streets of San Francisco. I tried the rides in Disneyland. Dated a million girls.
Your presence here today from every corner of the world is a testament to the strength, resilience, and boundless potential of the Filipino diaspora. You have crossed oceans and continents to be part of this historic gathering, and for that, we are deeply grateful. At this point, we request our non-resident Filipinos to gather in the center facing the stage. All summit delegates are also invited to join for the photo opportunity. Our photographers will capture your photos.
Ganda ng iyong ngiti, akin ang napapansin. Sugatan na puso'y kusang gumagaling. Handa na bang lisanin mabigat na bibig? Magaan ng buhay, huwag problemahin. Sa pag-alis akong gabay mo, hawak-hawak ang kamay mo hanggang dulo. Huwag kang bibitiw pag may dilubyong haharapin. Halika na sundan mo lamang ang aking habang papalayo sa ating naumpisahan. Lalapayin natin sarili nating kalawakan. Halika na wag mo isipin ang babalikan.
Also joining us today are Vietnam and Greece.
Ganda ng iyong ngiti, akin ang napapansin. Sugatan na puso'y kusang gumagaling. Handa na bang lisanin mabigat na bibig? Magaan ng buhay, huwag problemahin. Sa pag-alis akong gabay mo, hawak-hawak ang kamay mo hanggang dulo. Huwag kang bibit.
At this point, we request our non-resident Filipinos to gather in the center facing the stage. All summit delegates are also invited to join for the photo opportunity. Our photographers will capture your photos.
Halika na. Sundan mo lamang ang aking habang papalayo sa ating naumpisahan. Lalakbayin natin sarili nating kalawakan. Halika na. Wag mo isipin ang babalikan. Dito'y paranyaw, purong kagandahan. Lalakbayin natin sarili nating kalawakan. Halika na. Pagtitibayan kong puso para sa iyo. Pamaos man ako, marinig mo lang ang tinig ko. Oo, gagawin ko yun, basta't gagawin mo yun. Magandang bagay, alang-alang sa sarili mo. Sa pagalis akong kamay mo, hawak-hawak ang kamay mo hanggang dulo. Huwag kang bibitiw pag may dilubyong haharapin. Halika na. Sundan mo lamang ang aking habang papalayo sa ating naumpisahan. Lalakbayin natin sarili nating kalawakan. Halika na. Wag mo isipin ang babalikan. Dito'y paranyaw, purong kagandahan. Lalakbayin natin sarili nating kalawakan. Halika na.
Thank you very much, everyone. You may now go back to your seats as we proceed with our lineup of activities. Thank you very much, everyone. You may now take your seats as we will proceed with our lineup of activities. To set the stage for today's panel discussions, we invite our summit delegates to direct their attention to the screen to learn more about the mandate and mission of the Commission on Filipinos Overseas.
Migration is a defining phenomenon of the 21st century, with Filipinos among the most dispersed populations across the globe. As millions of our kababayans have made the bold decision to reside permanently overseas, a key institution stands at the forefront of guaranteeing the protection and sustained connection with overseas Filipinos. The Commission on Filipinos Overseas, or CFO, is the lead government agency that serves as the strategic architect of diaspora engagement for national development. The CFO was established under the Office of the President on June 16, 1980 through Batas Pambansa 79, signaling a clear recognition of international migration that extends beyond labor mobility and focused attention on diaspora populations and transnational engagement. This diaspora refers to the estimated 6 million Filipinos who are permanent residents abroad, naturalized citizens in other countries, dual citizens, spouses and other partners of foreign nationals, descendants of Filipino migrants, youth, exchange visitor program participants to the United States, and Europe-bound au pairs. Ultimately, it is the CFO's vision for these overseas Filipinos to be able to contribute significantly in 3 ways. Political, by maximizing diaspora soft power, policy influence, and lobbying efforts. Economical, by encouraging diaspora investments, philanthropy, and entrepreneurship in the Philippines. And cultural, by ensuring the youth and descendants maintain a sense of belonging through language, arts, and heritage programs. At the heart of the CFO is program management for national development. These are brain game strategies that seek to reinvest multidimensional diaspora resources for the benefit of the Philippines. First, to strengthen overseas Filipinos' engagement as national and local development partners, it has the Lingkod sa Kapwa Pilipino or Linkable Program, Balinkbayan, Peso Sense, and Ugnayan. To promote Filipino education, culture, and heritage, it oversees the Philippine schools overseas, conducts youth leaders in the diaspora or U-League modules, and facilitates the virtual Centro Rizal. The CFO recognizes overseas Filipinos and diaspora partners through awards and incentive programs such as the Presidential Awards for Filipino individuals and organizations overseas, Migration Advocacy and Media Awards, Overseas Filipino Centenarians Program, and Celebration of the Month of Overseas Filipinos. The CFO contributes to policy development and data banking by reviewing the economic, socio-cultural, and political environments in the Philippines and host countries, and formulating significant measures that benefit overseas Filipinos. It has supported the passage of the following legislation: RA 10868, RA 9189, RA 9225, RA 10906, and RA 10364. It is actively working on insurance portability for overseas Filipinos to continue accessing their healthcare benefits in the Philippines and abroad, as well as on retirement and reintegration initiatives to support the long-term care of retirees. The CFO also has a range of multi-stakeholder partnerships to carry out diaspora engagement initiatives. At the beginning of the migration phase, the CFO is already working to protect departing Filipinos through the Registration and Pre-Departure Orientation Seminar, Peer Counseling Program, Guidance and Counseling Program, Country Familiarization Seminar, and PIDOS for Exchange Visitor Program participants. These are a range of country-specific services that acquaint Filipino immigrants with fundamental laws, rights, and responsibilities, as well as available support services, making the CFO a stepping stone towards their success. Once abroad, the CFO conducts post-arrival programs, the virtual and in-person town halls, to assess migrants' circumstances and maintain connection with them. The CFO also has programs that address migration vulnerabilities and encourage preventive measures. These are the 1340 Action Line and Community Education Program. To better serve stakeholders, The CFO is strategically located in major hubs across the Philippines. With the main office in Pasay City, it has extension offices in Baguio, Cebu, Davao, and Cagayan de Oro, as well as desks at NAIA terminals Clark Airport. The CFO will continue to guide and proactively engage with the Filipino diaspora to empower them and make migration ultimately a choice rather than a necessity. Kaagapay ninyo ang komisyon sa mga Pilipino sa ibayong dagat sa bawat hakbang ng inyong paglalakbay. At kami naniniwala na kayong may dugong Pinoy ay ang aming katuwang sa pag-unlad.
And now we turn to the heart of today's summit, hearing directly from you, our non-resident Filipinos, about your contributions to Philippine and global development. We have invited diaspora leaders whose political advocacy, economic innovation, cultural diplomacy, and youth engagement are not only transforming the lives of Filipinos abroad, but are also creating pathways for impact here in our homeland. Today's panel discussions represent the four main pillars through which the Filipino diaspora contributes to national development. Each panel is moderated by distinguished experts in the fields. Our first panel discussion explores how the Filipino diaspora is amplifying Filipino voices in policymaking, both in host countries and in the Philippines. Entitled Amplifying Voices, Diaspora Advocacy and Policy Influence. Our panelists will share how they leverage their political capital, build global advocacy networks, and ensure that Filipino perspectives shape policies that affect our communities worldwide. Moderating this panel discussion is attorney Karen Olivia Jimeno. Attorney Jimeno is a lawyer licensed in the Philippines and New York, USA, with over 20 years of experience in private practice, government, academia, media, and international development. She graduated first in her class from the University of Asia and the Pacific, earned her law degree cum laude from the University of the Philippines, and obtained advanced degrees from Harvard Law School and UC Berkeley as a Fulbright scholar. A law professor for more than a decade, she teaches at San Beda Graduate School of Law and lectures for various legal and government institutions. Her work has earned her recognition as Asia's influential legal voice in media 2025 and recipient of the Icon of Leadership Award 2026. Let us welcome on stage attorney Karen Olivia Jimeno.
Thank you and good morning, everyone. So we'll begin with the first panel on political engagement. This panel will explore the role of the diaspora in Philippine policy development and advocacy in host countries. Our panelists will discuss strategies for leveraging diaspora political capital and building global advocacy networks. So now we'll be introducing our panelists. We'll start with Senator Shelley Calvo. Senator Calvo is the majority whip of the 38th Guam Legislature. She is also the chairperson of the Committee on Child Welfare, Youth Affairs, senior citizens, women's affairs, disability services, the arts, culture, historic preservation, and Hagatnya restoration. She's also the co-vice chairperson for the Committee on Transportation, Tourism, Customs, Utilities, and Federal and Foreign Affairs. She is the first Filipino American from Guam to be recommended for appointment as United States Ambassador to the Philippines. She holds over 34 years of professional business and writing experience in the Philippines, California, and Guam. Let's all welcome Senator Shelley Calvo. Our next panelist is Honorable Tyler Dos Santos Tam. Mr. Tyler Dos Santos Tam is a member of the Honolulu City Council, representing the downtown Honolulu area since 2022. He previously served as chairman of the Democratic Party of Hawaii and executive director of the Hawaii Construction Alliance, a labor organization representing 15,000 construction workers in the state. He also serves as the honorary consul of Portugal in Hawaii and is a graduate of Yale University. A proud Filipino American with roots in Ilocos Norte, my kababayan, and also Cebu, he was part of the 2017 batch of the Filipino Young Leaders Program. Let's all welcome Honorable Tyler Dos Santos Tam. Our third panelist is Miss Maria Zelda Marizel Magistrado Rojas. Ms. Maria Zelda Rojas is a longtime staff member of the Comprehensive Nuclear Test Ban Treaty Organization at the United Nations in Vienna and a recognized leader in the Philippine diaspora in Europe. As founder and chair of the NFID Austria and advisor to the European Network of the Philippine Diaspora, she represents Filipino communities across 14 countries and advances initiatives in education, environmental stewardship, youth empowerment, and arts and culture. She also serves as the first vice president of the United Nations Women's Guild and sits on the boards of the United Nations Correspondents Association Vienna and the European Police Association. In 2019, she was recognized by the Filipino Women's Network as one of the most influential women in the world. Let's all welcome Miss Maria Zelda Marizel Magistrado Rojas. Our fourth panelist is Mr. Larry L. Acera. Mr. Larry Acera is a Filipino-American engineer, entrepreneur, and former public official who made history in 1973 as the first Filipino-American elected to public office on the United States mainland when he won a seat on the Vallejo City Council. He later became the first Filipino-American to serve in a state cabinet level position in the United States as California's Deputy Secretary of State and Chairman of the State Building Standards Commission. A recognized pioneer in renewable energy and environmental technology, he founded the Acera Group of companies, and he has received numerous awards for his contributions to clean energy and innovation. Let's all welcome Mr. Larry L. Acera. Mr. Walter S. Villagonzalo. Mr. Walter Villagonzalo is a Filipino-Australian community leader, former deputy mayor and councillor of Windham City, and recipient of the 2025 Order of Australia Medal for his contributions to multiculturalism and community service. A graduate of the Philippine Military Academy, he previously served as an officer of the Philippine Navy before migrating to Australia, where he became a prominent advocate for migrant entrepreneurship and community development. He is the founder and president of the Migrant Hub Incorporated and Canopy Accelerator Cooperative Limited. And he has leadership positions in numerous Filipino, multicultural, and business organizations in Australia. In recognition of his contributions to the Filipino community overseas, he received the 2022 Presidential Awards for Filipino individuals and organizations overseas under the Pamana ng Pilipino category. Let's all welcome Mr. Walter S. Villagonzalo. We have such an impressive panel today, right? Wouldn't you agree? So reading your credentials, it made me very proud to be Filipino. So it's going to be an interesting panel, but given that we have 5 of them, each will have 3 minutes to speak. So we'll start with Senator Shelley Calvo. Thank you, Attorney.
Magandang umaga sa inyong lahat. Mabuhay! Mabuhay po ang Pilipino. Mabuhay! So good morning everyone, and in Guam we say half a day. First, I would like to extend my sincere gratitude to the organizers of the 2026 Filipino Diaspora Summit for bringing us together once again. It is an honor to join fellow leaders, advocates, professionals, and change makers from across the globe. My special gratitude to CFO, Director Ang, and I would like to let you guys know that deeply I am honored to be here. My name is Senator Shelley V. Calvo, and I serve as the Majority Whip of the 38th Guam Legislature. I'm also a very, extremely proud Filipina. I am a business leader, philanthropist, author, and a lifelong community advocate, as well as a lifelong lover of arts. This summit holds special meaning because it marks the first Filipino Diaspora Summit in 11 years. And I am proud to be part of the renewed commitment. After more than a decade, we have a unique opportunity to reconnect, to strengthen partnerships, and reflect on how far the Filipino diaspora has come and where we are headed next. The theme of this panel, Amplifying Voices, Diaspora Advocacy and Policy Influence, is both timely and powerful. For generations, Filipinos around the world have contributed to the communities we now call home. We have served as healthcare professionals, educators, entrepreneurs, public servants, military members, caregivers, as well as community leaders. Yet our impact extends beyond economics and service. Our voices matter. Diaspora advocacy is about ensuring that the experiences, concerns, and aspirations of Filipinos abroad are not only heard, but considered in the policies that shape our communities. It is about transforming our lived experiences into meaningful action and using our collective influence to create opportunities, not just for ourselves, but the future generations. Policy influence does not begin or end in government offices. It happens when we organize our communities, we participate in civic life, we mentor our young leaders, we support one another, and engage in conversations that drive meaningful change, meaningful and lasting change. As a Filipina serving in public office, I have witnessed firsthand the importance of representation. When diverse voices are present at decision-making tables, policies become more inclusive, communities become stronger, and future generations are empowered to believe that they too belong in positions of leadership. The Filipino diaspora is one of the largest and most connected communities in the world. Imagine the impact we can make when we move beyond individual success and work collectively to advocate for the issues that matter most to our people. Together, we are nation builders. Together, we are change makers. This summit is our opportunity to listen, to learn, to collaborate, to connect, and to build lasting networks that transcends borders. Because when we amplify our voices together, we do more than influence policy. Remember, we shape the future. Thank you very much. Maraming salamat po and undang kalun sa duus masi.
Thank you, Senator Shelley, and thank you for keeping with your time. Next, we'll have Honorable Tyler Dos Santos Tam.
Magandang umaga and aloha. So coming from Hawaii, Hawaii was one of the first areas where Filipinos emigrated to in 1906. And as a result, we have Filipino Americans in our case who are 5th, 6th, and 7th generation. And I'm one of the 5th generation Filipino Americans. And it makes me so proud to be back here in the Philippines to reconnect with my homeland. And I hope that more young Filipinos who are born abroad, who grow up abroad, feel that connection. And so the question today is, how can we make that happen? How do we make those experiences of the later generations, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th generations, how do they connect with recent immigrants and the issues that recent immigrants have? How do we get them to work in solidarity together? And I hope that we'll be able to explore these questions together as a panel, as well as throughout today. The position of an immigrant group, whether it's in the United States or in any other country around the world, is also an interesting one because, at least for us in the United States, we don't have compulsory voting. And so people have to choose to vote. People have to choose to be a participant in the political process. For those who are non-permanent residents who have immigrated, they perhaps don't have a voice. So the question is, how do we encourage them to speak up and express their views, to express their needs, and to feel heard in their countries of residence? And I hope that we'll be able to explore that as well. I would posit that in addition to the political participation, there are a number of other ways that Filipinos abroad, Filipinos who are part of the diaspora, can get connected, whether it's through their place of work, through business organizations, through labor organizations, through their church networks, and other ways. I think this is something that's really key for members of our diaspora to make their voice heard. And I would also posit that in many of these countries, there is a whole list of nearly 30 countries here in this room, solidarity with other immigrant groups is also keeping that very close to our hearts. And so with that, I'll close my remarks and I look forward to being part of the panel. And I told Marizelle I would give her 1 extra minute of my time for her presentation. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much, Honorable Tyler Dos Santos Tam, and thank you for your generosity.
Good morning, Grüß Gott, Guten Tag from Austria. It is my honor to bring into this historic gathering of 350 non-resident Filipinos on site, as well as the Filipinos residing in more than 200 countries and territories attending online, my organization, the European Network of Filipino Diaspora, to which its existence we owe to former Secretary Imelda Nicolas. Can we give her a big round of applause? NFID. Seconds is not enough to describe NFID as a powerful diaspora platform, but it gives you a snapshot of what we have achieved since its inception in 2012, what we are currently doing, and our future plans. NFID is a diaspora network like no other, with members in 13 countries working together in their second homes, joining hands across Europe, guided by its 4E pillars on education and learning, elevating arts and culture, empowering Euro-Filipino youth, and embracing the environment. We turn these pillars into action. When we talk about political participation and representation, we engage at the highest diplomatic levels, conducting courtesy calls even with presidents like that of Iceland, and meeting various embassies and consulates on relevant matters. In the Nordics, Iceland is represented at the Nordic Migrant Experts Forum, an advisory group on migrant issues for the Nordic ministers. We turn consultation in consultative collective action. As a standout example, in the UK, where we helped amplify a petition protecting Filipino nurses against restrictive residency reforms. The campaign reached 244,000 signatures, successfully forcing a direct debate in the UK Parliament. Our greatest asset is the professional capital of individual Euro-Filipinos who excel in their host countries while staying deeply committed to their roots. We capitalize on this by moving beyond basic community visibility. In countries like UK, Germany, and Italy, Filipinos are actively running for public office to shape local laws. In the Nordics, Iceland's representative is part of this. By pairing our seasoned seniors in Senfit with our youth in Yenfit through events like the Youth Changemakers Forum held at the United Nations, we foster intergenerational leadership. Before a diaspora can deploy its professional capital, it must build trust. We do this through cultural diplomacy initiatives, such as Austria's upcoming Pamana Festival, to which I invite you all come to Austria on the 5th of September, 2026. We have our annual General Assemblies where we discuss internal matters, governance, administrative matters, our elections. We have our Diaspora to Dialogue, D2D, where we try to get the pulse of each country and establish new diaspora networks. We also have the Youth Changemakers Forum, where we collaborate with international organizations like UNESCO, we have UNCAV, we have Women's Federation. We tackle critical global challenges through Eco Warriors Initiative and we move forward to open critical dialogue surrounding portability of pensions, health insurance, and social security. To conclude, NFID proposes two structural recommendations to elevate our collective influence. Centralized knowledge sharing. Defeat fragmentation by using NFID as a Europe-wide data hub to scale local solutions. Institutionalize diaspora consultation. Establish permanent structured roundtables with CFO and expedite decisions on our memorandum of understanding. And finally, recognize NFID as a diaspora partner. Together, we can do a lot more. Use us, abuse us, but really use us. By anchoring our actions in our 4Es, we turn personal achievements into collective influence. I am looking forward to signing the Declaration of Commitments at the end of this summit together with you. I think by being present here, on site, and the ones online, we deserve a big round of applause. Mabuhay tayong lahat, mabuhay ang migranteng Pilipino, mabuhay ang ating bansa.
Thank you again, Ms. Marizel Rojas. We now move on to our fourth panelist, Mr. Larry L. Acera.
Good morning, everybody. I'm that kid from California, third generation. Thank you again, Mr. Chairman, for inviting us to speak, and Karen for that great introduction. Let me take you on a ride across the ocean of dreams. Join me in riding the waves and talk about the first wave. The first wave are the cicadas. We cannot forget the cicadas, Tyler. My grandfather, my Lolo, landed in Hawaii in 1906. It was the first wave of migrant plantation owners cutting sugarcane. It's their hard work, their courage and spirit continues to shape my identity as a Filipino American today. Second wave, 1920. My parents were the Manongs, the bridge generation. They took over. They decided, we want better dreams. Let's go to that place where better life for themselves and their families. They crossed the ocean on the second wave, and they landed somewhere called California. But instead, they ended up as migrant farm workers. This time, picking lettuce and asparagus, 100-degree temperature and sweltering heat. So living in America, the farm workers decided to migrate to the suburbia. However, they ran into unfair housing policies, segregated housing, employment discrimination, unequal pay, redlining, substandard, redevelopment housing development where it's torn down every 2 years. And then going to America in 1930s and 40s, 1941, Pearl Harbor. Can someone do the slides? Are they moving? I'm sorry. So going to war, the Filipino Americans were drafted. Going to war, slide number 5. Okay. They were fighting for freedom. Let's not forget our Filipinos as U.S. military veterans. That's a part of our diaspora too. My grandpa, Lorenzo, please, next slide, was a World War I veteran. My father, Henry Acera, World War II veteran. He got assigned to Guadalcanal, was shot, wounded, and got a Purple Heart. Next slide, home at last. Home at last. Vallejo, California, where I was born. Filipino American, third generation, located about 45 miles north of San Francisco. Now, Vallejo has 5 generations, 6 generations, maybe like Tyler, 7 generations of Filipino Americans. Vallejo is has the largest ratio of Filipino population in the United States on a cluster of Filipinos. 25% of Vallejo population is Filipino. It's 25,000 out of 100,000. In fact, the Philam profile in California to 1.6 million Filipinos. That's 38% of the total population of Filipinos in the United States. Yeah, we got a Mare Island Naval Shipyard. We have a Jollibee. I brought Jollibee, the first Jollibee in the United States. I brought them there. But Mare Island in Vallejo is like Subic or Longapo. So let's get to today's theme, public policy legacy. Next slide, please. Amplifying the voices of the world. First, let's look at that picture on the left. That orange leaflet is my leaflet when I ran for city council in 1973 at 24 years of age. The reason I have the long hair, I just graduated from, Karen, Berkeley in engineering, okay? But when I campaigned for city council at that age in the city of Vallejo, where no person of color was ever elected, the pundits, political pundits and journalists said, he cannot win because he's Filipino. Hello, I won. And then they said, thank you. Then they said he won because he was Filipino. So realistically, we raise the awareness of Filipinos. We raise the levelness of the empowerment of the Filipino vote. And I can say through my 20 years, public servant, former city councilman, acting mayor, former county supervisor, chairman of the board, worked at the Senate and Assembly, California Assembly. But when I was appointed Deputy Secretary of State, I can tell you some legacy things that we passed, and I encourage any elected official that's Filipino should do things like this for our people. The first thing we did was approve reciprocity. Philippine nurses and doctors and accountants weren't accepted in the United States. We banned that law and said, if you're a doctor in the Philippines, you come to California, you're a doctor in California. We put together in the judiciary system the first Filipino judges ever appointed in California. Judge Bacana in LA, Judge Kita Chai in San Francisco. And the law that I'm very, very proud of is that we designated Filipinos as Filipinos in the census of California. No longer in California do you have to wonder if you check the box, API, Asian Pacific, or are you other? No, you are Filipino American, you check the box, you're Filipino. That's in the law today. So as a trailblazer politics, I proudly say that today we have a Filipino state senator, we have a Filipino state assemblywoman, we have a state attorney general, and the first Filipino that we appointed as a judge, Filipino judge, not only was on the Supreme Court, she became the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court of California. So watch out, folks, election in November. There'll be more mayors, more councilmen, and maybe people who are in office like I was. Hopefully I left a legacy. So the next slide, please. Catching the wave. I'm here today to tell you that I'm returning to the Philippines. Even though I'm third generation, I am here now. See me? Filipino American, Pinoy, proudly Pinoy. Thank you, DFA, for the brain gain versus the brain drain moment that they had. They put that together and recruited us to come to the Philippines. And thank you, DOSD. DOSD has a balik scientist. They recruited me. I was able to bring my solar cells, my photovoltaic cells, my batteries, my green batteries, my electric cars here in the Philippines. And the Senate here retained me to help pass the first Renewable Energy Act in the Philippines in 2008. Thank you. So last slide. I borrowed some minutes, by the way, from everybody here. This presentation is dedicated to my Sakara grandparents for their extraordinary journey across the ocean of dreams. May their legacy inspire generations to dream boldly and persevere while rooted in the pride of our ethnic identity. Last slide, please. Boy. So I'm finding my roots. I'm here. Thank you for recruiting us. Mabuhay ang Filipino. Thank you.
again, Mr. Larry Acera, and for that history lesson across the waves. Thank you. And finally, we have Mr. Walter Villagonzalo.
Thank you. Good day to all delegates, friends, and leaders. My name is Walter Villagonzalo. I graduated from the Philippine Military Academy in 1975. I served in the Philippine Navy and worked mainly with computers and information systems. After the EDSA revolution, I moved to Australia with my family. I'm here before you not only as a citizen of both Australia and the Philippines, but also as someone who has lived the migrant journey for 40 years. Today, I want to talk to you about the Filipino in the middle. Not a problem, not always noticed, just in the middle. Filipinos knows this place very well. We are not seen as a difficult community. We are not often in the headlines. We are simply there, working, adjusting, contributing. We work hard, we adapt quickly, we speak English, we fit in, we contribute quietly and steadily. Filipinos are strong contributors, but we are not always visible. We are leaders in our own Filipino communities, but not always in the wider public. We help build nations, but we are often not in the rooms where decisions are made. You know what? Many migrant communities live in the same space. They are present, they are respected, but they are not always fully represented, just like us Filipinos. Australia is one of the most multicultural countries in the world. About 1/3 of the population there were born overseas. In my suburb of Tarnit, the percentage of migrants was 10% when we moved there 30 years ago. Today, it is more than 60%. This tells us something important. The middle where we all live is not a small place, and it is growing. I believe with all my heart and from my decades of experience working with other migrants that Filipinos can lead from the middle, because the middle is not a weak place. It is a place of connection. It is where trust grows. It is where cultures meet. It is where bridges are built. Filipinos are natural bridge builders. We connect cultures. We at work. We connect communities in the countries we now call home. And we can do even more. We can build links between the Philippines and the countries where we now live. We can build links with the many migrant communities who share our lives, workplaces, and neighborhoods. We can build bridges and promote trade between the countries they originally came from with the Philippines. But to do that, we must step forward. We must go beyond our comfort zones, beyond our professions, beyond our silence, beyond the idea that public life is for other people. Leadership is not only for politicians. Leadership is for migrants who believe their voice matters. It is for parents who want a better future for their children. It is for communities that refuse to stay invisible. So to every Filipino migrant here today, I say this: your accent does not disqualify you.
Your story is not a weakness. Your contribution is not the end of the journey. You belong in the conversation. You belong in civic life. You belong in leadership. And let us not speak only for ourselves. Let us stand with other migrant communities who share our struggles and our hopes. Let us be the bridge between cultures, between nations, and between exclusion and opportunity. My friends, the Filipinos have spent too long in the middle. Now is the time to rise, not above others, but for others. To lead with humility, to serve with courage, to show that leadership can come from the quietest and hardest working parts of society. If we do this, we will not only lift our own people, we will help shape the future of the countries we now call home. And we will bring the honor to the Filipino name wherever it is spoken. Maraming salamat. Mabuhay ang Filipino diaspora. Mabuhay ang Pilipinas.
Thank you, Walter. And that is a very inspiring speech to end our panel today. So now let's go to the part of our panel where we have a discussion. And I'll be starting with some questions, and after 15 minutes, we'll also have questions from the audience. So I'd like our audience to start thinking of what you want to ask our panelists. But first, let's start with, I suppose, our political panelists here. From your perspective, how has the Filipino diaspora participation in political processes evolved over the years?
Well, as I mentioned, the history of Filipino immigration is an interesting one. If you think of going to Hawaii, going to a place like Guam, in places like California, Daly City, and Stockton, you had large populations of Filipinos coming to one place. And when that happens, it's a lot easier in some ways for them to participate, to get organized, to get together and use their voice. What we're seeing now in terms of immigration is a lot of Filipinos now going to all corners of the world. And in some places, there's very small groups of Filipinos. You think of the Filipino nurses who are all across the United States and Canada and elsewhere. And there might just be 10 of them in one town. It's very difficult for them to organize and make their 10 voices be heard. And that's why, as I mentioned, it's really important to get together with other immigrant groups to amplify your voice, to find other ways. Use social media, to use the traditional media as well. Because, as Walter said, the accent is not disqualifying, and participation there should not be a barrier to participate, even if you are an immigrant, even if you are, maybe think of yourself as an outsider, you're not. And we need to help encourage these folks in far-flung places, in these little corners of every country around the world, to find ways to plug in and participate.
Senator Shelley, I'll go back to you with a question related to political processes and representation. But since you mentioned what Walter said, that the accent doesn't disqualify you, I suppose a lot of the migrants here can relate to that. And Walter gave us a very good speech about being in the middle. So Walter, when you said that, what is your advice to Filipino migrants in terms of not feeling like they belong, or feeling like, them not speaking the same language as their first language and having this Filipino accent? What is your advice as to how they can overcome that feeling of not belonging?
Thank you. Thank you, Tony Karen. I felt that way. I brought my family to Australia, and I brought them back in 1998. That's 12 years after I was there, because I did not feel I belong. I felt like I'm a second-class citizen. I brought my family back here, and I said to them after 10 months, we are not going back to Australia. This is where I belong. And my children were crying, and they were saying, but Dad, we are Australians. So we had to go back to Australia for their sake. But then I had to again face that issue. I'm second-class citizen. But it is what it is. We're there in another country. It's not the Philippines where we're first-class citizens. But we can be the first among the second-class citizens. We can lead. So when you do that, when I came back and I spent more time in volunteering, in working with migrant communities, and the more I did it, the more I felt belonging. The more I felt like I was recognized and appreciated. So let's just get out there and participate, and especially among migrants, because Filipinos will shine among migrants.
Thank you so much. Larry, you're a third generation Filipino American. Do you accept that view of being first in your second class citizens? Do you agree that that's an acceptable point of view to take?
I'm kind of an interesting diaspora, not just because I'm third generation, but I grew up as a Filipino American in America. At home, I was Filipino, but my grandparents on one side were Ilocano, on the other side they were Visayan. So which dialect do I speak? They said, speak English. At home, they did not want me to have an accent. This is back in the 1940s and 50s now, okay? But when you step out of that house, you better be just like them outside. Said, but you also better be better than them. You get the top grades, you be the best athlete, you be #1, and you go to the #1 college like you, UC Berkeley.
Not Harvard. Okay, thank you so much. Senator Shelley, in what ways can appointed or elected Filipino leaders like you overseas serve as bridges between diaspora communities and Filipino institutions?
Thank you for that question. Good morning again, once again. Being in a leadership position takes me to a position where I can directly communicate and coordinate with other government officials. I have that window wherein I can utilize to bring in voices from Filipino communities. I have an open door policy in my office wherein anybody can just come in, book an appointment, or call me. And some Filipino leaders in my community have direct access to my personal phone. And I kept it that way because true leadership is not being a politician, but a public servant. And so I utilize that capacity to engage, to collaborate, to ensure that all concerns are brought in to my attention. And then from there, I actually work and collaborate with fellow leaders and public servants, community leaders, advocates, and that's how I actually practice my leadership.
Thank you so much, Senator Shelley. Marizel, among the panelists, you're the one that mentioned having a youth empowerment initiative for Filipino Europeans. Given this, I suppose, like semi-identity crisis, and for the younger generations, I think it's harder to feel connected to being Filipino because you're surrounded by non-Filipino friends. And now with social media, you're just bombarded with, of course, all content that's not related to your Filipino culture. So how do you have Filipino European initiatives that empower the youth, that make them feel connected to their Filipino heritage?
Thank you for that question, Karen. In NFID, one of the pillars that we have is, according to what also Secretary Ang said, is related to the youth. It's empowering Euro-Filipino youth. Like you said, the term we use is actually, I think, biculturalism. I have a daughter who is 23. In Vienna, she is Viennese, but she's not really accepted as a Filipino. She comes home, she's a Filipino, but she's not really seen as a Filipino. So what we have tried to do in NFID is establish forum, which is recently established. Actually, we call it the Youth Changemakers Forum, a forum that is an intergenerational activity that gives the youth a platform to really come out with the issues that affect them. And the good thing about what we have done is we have a third one coming up, because it is in this kind of platform that the youth feel that they can speak. They can talk to each other among peers, and also we relate with them in a mentor-mentee relationship with the oldies. So we have the oldies on one hand, mentoring them, and the youth learning from them and leading them in areas that they are already at this stage, like ignorant, like technology, AI. So this is a very good relationship across generations that we hope we can continue with the third one coming up at the United Nations in February next year.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Larry, you mentioned reciprocity as something that's important. Can you elaborate on that? And how do we reconcile that with making sure that also this does not lead to further brain drain in the Philippines?
You understand, when we passed the reciprocity law in California, that was 1980. In 1980, if you were a Philippine grad, licensed doctor, dentist, nurse, you weren't accepted to practice in California. So we just got rid of the law, okay? And so that you can practice. You're a Filipino doctor, not a Filipino medical aid. You're a dentist, you're not a dental aid. You're a nurse, you're not a nursing aid. So we got rid of it so the Filipinos could come here. That's part of it, really, diaspora, yeah. But more than that, we, as Deputy Secretary of State, we appointed a Filipino on every regulatory board for license. If you want to make change, you better make change in government. You better make change in the regulatory agency within government. You can't just protest. You can't just put a sign up. In my era, we never had a cell phone. We didn't have internet. We didn't have social media. But I went inside the system, and that's what I encourage anybody that goes in politics. Change the law to help your people, but do it within the system.
Thank you so much, Larry. What about you, Tyler? What type of initiatives have you tried doing in Hawaii so that there can be more Filipino representation within the system?
Yeah. That was mic number 2. This is number 4 for those in the back. Building on this, we're in an interesting place in the United States, as you're very well aware, with the immigration situation. We have big needs, whether it's the medical field or, in Hawaii's case, for teachers. We have brought a number of Filipino teachers under the J-1 visa program that is under attack. And there's people who want to end that program. And so we, as Filipinos, but also as the general public, whose children depend on these teachers, whose schools depend on having a full slate of educators, also need to speak up. And so these are not just Filipino issues. Whether the J-1 visa program that brings teachers here, or whether this program in California that brings doctors and nurses, this is not just a Filipino issue. This is an issue for everybody. And we as Filipinos need to make the rest of the community realize that. And so there's a number of tools that we can use in terms of advocacy, in terms of media, the traditional media, newspapers, radio, now social media, as well as all the normal ways that we try to engage and communicate through petitions and other kind of political advocacy. We need everybody on board because these are no longer just Filipino issues. These are community-wide issues, and we need to put that into that context.
Thank you so much. Marizel and Walter, based on your experience, what are the common challenges that you encounter when it comes to trying to unite Filipinos around advocacy issues?
May I, Walter? From the European Network of Filipino Diaspora perspective, diversity is both a challenge and an advantage because of the diverseness of the Filipinos across Europe right now, actually just 13, but very active ones. You have differences in language, origin from the Philippines, profession, level of education. All of this make really arriving at decisions very challenging. But again, it is also what makes it interesting and a very positive thing, diversity.
Thank you. What about you, Walter?
Yes, say advocacy. We are already doing advocacy there. I mean, we have 150 Filipino organizations in Melbourne, and each one advocating for the issues that they are, their favorite issues. But we have to take note that the issues that we have in the community are the same across the other migrant organizations. And if we advocate for our own community, the state government or the federal government looks at us as one of just 100 organizations. So we advocate for a bigger population. And that's why I said, focus on the migrant issues. I did that. We had a Filipino business association. We closed it down and we organized the multicultural business, the Australian Council for Multicultural Entrepreneurs. Because when we're doing business, we're not just selling to Filipinos, we're selling to everybody. So we get other community groups to work with us, and when we advocate, we advocate not just for the Filipinos, we advocate for everybody, and the government listens to us more because of that. So in Melbourne right now, that's what's happening. A lot of our community groups are actively advocating for their own issues, but we're also working with other community groups so that we have a bigger voice and people would listen.
Thank you so much. This is addressed to anyone from the panel. What emerging global issues should Filipino diaspora organizations prioritize in the coming years?
I think as a Filipino, and we're here as a diaspora, what we need to address is really how we can unite. And through collaboration, communication, connecting, that's how we can unite. Remember, there's always strength in numbers. So each one of the diaspora or Filipinos, individual living outside the Philippines, have their own concerns, have their own goals, have their own lives that they live. As a policymaker, I focus my energy on building the family unit, strengthening family units, protection of children, protection of senior citizens. There's a big gap. If you talk about the children, the next generation, we need to fill in that gap. If you want a really strong diaspora in different countries, if we want Filipinos to be represented, we need to target that gap. And how we target that gap is really through education. And not just education in countries where we live, but we start education within the Philippines. Education for people that are migrating and going towards other countries. We start from scratch, from here, from the baseline. Because when you get there, when you assist them and you educate Filipinos leaving, then they already equipped. They have the skills, they have the knowledge, they have resources. You equip them here. When they get to the country where they're going to live, then they have the resource. So as a policymaker, I have focused my energy in family unit, family values, cultural preservation. When you talk about family values, that is your mainstream, how you can actually pass down traditions, values, connections. If you have a tight family unit, then that is the perfect pathway for you to pass down whatever tradition we have, whatever Filipino goals and that we wanted to instill out there. If you don't have a strong family unit, then the next generation will not listen. So we work within our family unit, and from there, diaspora will be stronger.
Thank you. Anything to add, Larry? I see you're holding up the mic.
I'm maybe a little bit biased because I'm an engineer and scientist. I'm encouraging all of you that your next generation children adopt technology as their background, because you need to bring that technology, like I am, back in the Philippines to make this Philippines energy independent. They need to learn about clean energy and solar and wind. This country needs energy security. They can't depend on the foreign oil. They need to make this country energy independent and therefore make this country energy secured.
Thank you so much. And I think for those who grew up here before migrating, you are familiar with power outages here in the Philippines, right? You've experienced it at some point. So thank you for bringing that up, Larry. Last question before we take questions from the audience. What do you want to see from the Philippine government to strengthen the Filipino communities abroad?
In Melbourne right now, we have a very active and supportive consulate general, and even the last consul general also was very supportive. So it is very important that we, as a diaspora, work closely together with the Philippine government representative in that city. That's what we're doing now. So it's also the consulate is also like the one that's bringing the other community, the Filipino community groups together, and we're able to see what are the Philippines' interests that we want to promote or to advocate for in the area. So I think what we need to do is really work with the existing government office in the city that we are in.
Thank you. Thank you, Walter. What do you think, Tyler?
Yeah, I would actually build on what Larry said. In addition to the next generation coming back here to the Philippines to invest and work, I think there are gaps that need to be filled. And I know the Philippine government is working to make investment here in the Philippines easier, friction-free. We live in a competitive global environment. If somebody wants to establish a solar panel manufacturing plant here in Asia, they could pick from any number of countries around Southeast Asia. But I hope they choose the Philippines, but we have to show the competitive advantage of the Philippines. You know, for the past 15, 20 years, one of the competitive advantages has been English proficiency, the proliferation of call centers, and that's been wonderful. But other countries are catching up in terms of English proficiency. With the internet, with AI, now any AI computer can do a lot of that call center work. What is the next value add that the Philippines is going to have? And I think hopefully the Philippines government can work to identify what that is and move quickly, because it's a very competitive environment out there. And I want our diaspora to invest back, but we have to make it easier and friction-free.
Thank you so much. And on that note, we'll start taking questions from the audience. So we'll have microphones available on the floor, but feel free to just stand up and ask a question. Oh, we have a question here in the front. Yeah, you can see.
Hello.
Hello. If you can state your name, please, so that.
Imelda Nicolas, I'm former chair.
Yes.
CFO. First, mabuhay ang Filipino diaspora. Mabuhay ang CFO for re-energizing this global summit. My question, this is not really a question, but an invitation to everybody who's here. Based on the statistics of CFO, there are 6 million of you, Filipino diaspora. But based on the common statistics, only 1 million of you vote. So that's really, so as you know, 2028 is going to be a critical junction in Philippine history. So I'm inviting all of you to participate in the 2028 national presidential elections, whether as campaigner, whether as voter especially, whether as campaign advocate for any of the reasons. Although I personally would like to push for Lenny Robredo presidential candidate, but just in case he does not run, then I'm pushing for Lisa Hontiveros. So please join us as voters, as campaign advocates, or as campaigner, or even as funders, especially. Usually we ask for funds from the overseas Filipinos. Anyway, that's my invitation to all of you here. Join us during the campaign in the 2028 national presidential election. Thank you.
Thank you to our former CFO secretary. And she's calling out everyone to please vote in 2028. Any other questions? We have a gentleman here on table 12.
Thank you so much for the panel, for the very insightful ideas, and especially as part of the youth and as part of the diaspora, I am particularly inspired by uplifting our voices to basically engage with the diaspora and to take part in forming the institutions that would basically help our communities. So, Sir Larry actually mentioned that when we have certain advocacies, we have to change it within the system, or I'm quoting him here when what he said. And so I just want to ask from your experiences, or like in general from our panel members, which advocacies from the diaspora have been more difficult to fight for because it demanded substantive structural change within the system. So I guess that would help us in maybe thinking about the issues that we would want to fight for eventually and the considerations that we should have. Thanks so much.
Great question.
Is that directed to me? Again, I'm dating myself. I was an elected official over 50 years ago, so things have changed. On the other hand, it hasn't changed. You have to change public policy to leave a legacy. The number one thing for me, and it's still an issue, maybe not as much in other cities, but housing. Having access to housing. There's still a thing called redlining. When I grew up, Filipinos can only live in a certain neighborhood. You need to get Filipinos elected or appointed to redevelopment and housing boards so that you can have equal access to housing. I mentioned earlier, yes, we decided to appoint a Filipino on every doctor's board, medical board, dentist board, because they have to speak on your behalf. Not one person, even though I was only one elected official at the time, you can do it. So you need to spread the wealth. You need to look at people like people on the panel here that have the qualification, get them involved, get your younger generation particularly involved, because they're the ones that have to go out and get the vote now. That's another thing I mentioned. You got to register to vote, like Imelda said. Not only register to vote, you got to get out there and get the vote out. I would not have been elected in 1973 if we didn't recognize or show the rest of the community that the Filipino vote was definitely in power, but we never got anybody elected. So when I got elected, it makes a statement. So whatever you do, make a statement, get into the system, try to find a way to change the public policy, the regulatory, both administrative and elected, like my Kamina does here. Be seen, be heard, get out and vote.
I would add to that. So some of these issues, nationwide issue dealt with at the very top level. Housing policy deals with the banks and the developers and all of these other things. We have some local elected officials here. I read all of my emails. My secretary picks up the phone. I'm sure Senator reads all of her emails in the same way. If there's a local issue and 5 people email me about it, that makes me think something must be going on and I better go deal with that. And if 5 people call my office with the same issue, my secretary will say, hey, Tyler, like 5 people are calling, this is important. And so on the local level, if it's a group of Filipino nurses and there's a rule that's unjust at the hospital and they call our local elected officials, I might not be able to wave a magic wand and change the hospital's rules, but I'll send the CEO of the hospital a letter and say this is an issue. And so I think starting with our local officials can be a really great place to start showing that political might, even if there's only 5 Filipinos in the diaspora who are affected by this issue. It's a great place to start.
Marizel, yes.
It's very inspiring to hear a question from a young person in this room. One advocacy that I am passionate about is related to political representation and participation. In the host countries that you live in, where you have already taken on the citizenship, go and run for office. If you want to be part of the decision makers, be at the table where decisions are being made. Go for it. We have all the resources in your hands. You don't have the baggage that the first generations went when they went abroad. So please, don't just vote, go and run for office.
Thank you so much. Yes, of course, Senator Shelley.
you know, voting is very important, but actually, if you are not able to vote due to your status, if you're just like a resident, you can still exercise your right and your individuality and whatever issues you want to fight. You have a voice. Join organizations. Like I mentioned earlier, there is strength in numbers. Be with the organization that you can, if you don't have that voice, then amplify whatever voice that you have by joining organization, contacting whoever your local leaders are, and go out there. Just basically go out there. But if you want change, you got to go out there. You cannot just sit in your homes and complain. We got to act. I wouldn't be in my position right now if I just sat and dreamed that I will be in this position, correct? So if you want something, we're Filipinos. We are resourceful. We are resilient. We are hardworking. We inspire people. Go out there.
Thank you. So to answer your question, I think there's no really difficult issue to advocate for as long as you follow what our panelists said. So I think at this note, we don't have any more time for, okay, last question. Yes, ma'am. Yeah. Okay, we'll take the last, wow, we have a lot of people raising their hands. We'll take this question first, and then we'll move to that gentleman over there.
Thank you, Chair. I'm Ellen Sana from the Center for Migrant Advocacy. I am an old voice. Sorry about that. But just on the political empowerment of Filipinos, Secretary Yang mentioned in his message earlier that we will be working on the CFO in particular. We will be working for representation, direct representation of the Filipino diaspora in our Congress. So initially as honorary, but hopefully not just as honorary, but a voting member of parliament. And I'd like to ask any one of you your thoughts about it, because definitely this is not a new idea anymore, where the diaspora population is represented in the origin countries. Several countries are doing that already. So that's the first one. The second is, you are all our pride, Philippine pride. Mabuhay po kayo. And you do your share in making things better for our communities in the destination country. But I'd like to ask as well, especially those who are based in the United States, what else can be done, especially under the Trump administration, not only for you guys, but more so for the migrant workers, or those who are staying there on temporary visa. Example would be the continued crackdown against Filipino seafarers on cruise ships, and they are being deported without due process whatsoever. We would like to solicit your support and solidarity, and that this be stopped as well. Thank you.
Anyone want to take that question?
Is that directed to the Americans? What a hot seat. Well, first of all, I think we have to wait till 2028 where something's changed there, okay, in the White House. But the way ICE is being run now, and the way people are rotating in, out, there doesn't seem to be consistency in public policy. We need to speak up more. I know there are immigration issues that you could probably discuss a whole forum like this on, and you should go for it on those as an expert, but we better start lobbying the existing policymakers, and you better do it city to city, not just on a national, because I don't see that direction going. Do it within your city, within your congregation, within your sphere of influence, and start monitoring that. Again, as Tyler said, those local officials really make a difference how that ICE policy is implemented.
Okay, we'll take a last question from a gentleman over there. I have another one raising his hand, but I need to know, do we have enough time? Okay, one more. There's someone already on the microphone.
Hello, Karen. I am ready now to speak out.
Okay, so we have two people on the microphone. Okay, we can start with you, sir.
Thank you, everyone, and good morning. I just would like to share my experience. I'm from Sydney, Australia. So it was mentioned by the secretary earlier that we have to be involved in cultural, economic, and political. I have done that, all of the three areas of the society. In New South Wales, I ran several times in the upper house. I ran in the Australian Senate, a senator for New South Wales. So you just have to be noticed, engage yourself in the community. That's one. Second, you asked about the last question that says, what does you need from the government? If you notice, in every other state or countries, Filipinos are working from Monday to Friday. And most of the consulates are open on those days. So I think there is a little bit tweak as far as the government institutions that they must be available on a weekend. Because, as I said, most of the Filipino Australians who will have a business in the Philippine consulate can do it most of the time on a weekend. Their priority is their work, their family, but they can do it on a weekend. That's one of the tweak that I would like to recommend. Also, in New South Wales, we have the biggest Filipino-Australian community. So a lot of activities are mainly as an observation on the cultural side aspect of it. That's why I challenge everyone to put your name in the ballot. As I agreed with the panelists earlier, we cannot be on the table if we will not put our name in the ballot. The other one that I would like to share is you join a political party within the state and stick it out. You just cannot do it if you are outside of the political party. Of course, you can run as an independent, but it's a logistical issue. So you join political parties, be noticed in there, and people will be able to recognize you and interact with the mainstream community.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, and on that note, I think we have to wrap up our panel. We're out, yes, we're out of time. Okay, out. Okay, so we'll go back to that question there. Sorry, I know we're over time, but they're giving us the go ahead. So please.
Hello? Hello.
Finally, okay.
Thank you. Pagbati sa ngalan ng kapayapaan at kaunlaran, greetings in the name of peace and prosperity. I am Adrian Oliver Pagarao. I am 19 years old. I am a youth activist and student leader from the province of Rizal. I'm honored to be part with so many individuals who have made so much contributions towards the Filipino society despite being far from home. You are the unsung heroes away from shore. But the call for heroes are not one time. We always need people to take lead towards that future. And if there's one group, regardless of location, that we can always call on to, it is the youth. We have always recognized the role of the youth in shaping the future society. And if there's one quote that is very symbolizing to the Filipino youth diaspora, it is the quote made by a Filipino writer who's based in Austria. And he quoted that Filipinos in the diaspora have a double obligation to defend human rights and democracy, both in the Philippines and wherever we find ourselves living. And this is so much more impactful in the youth. Knowing how heavy the weight is already for the local youth on this pressure of being the hope of the country, how do we expect and encourage the youth of the Filipino diaspora to engage and become active change makers in both the politics of their overseas location and their motherland? How could the Filipino diaspora youth recognizing how paramount the contemporary situations and issues that are happening in our country for the future of all Filipinos globally effectively participate in nation building despite being far from home. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I'll take that. And just to close things out, I think that's a really insightful question. For those here in the room, I think we all know that there's many organizations overseas, many groups of Filipinos. We all love being in groups, but we have to make space for the youth. And I think that's exactly what your question's getting to. If somebody's been the president of the organization of Filipinos for 25 years, I'm sure they've done a great work, but they need to bring in the next generation and support them and make them the vice president. So that way there's continuity. And I think that that's a lesson that we all need to also take into account in political spaces as well as nonprofits and NGOs as a better part of the diaspora.
Thank you so much, Tyler. Okay, we'll have an additional note from Senator Shelley.
For the youth, you have the best tool in your hands. You guys are the most expert, I would say, in the world when it comes to internet connection, application. The only thing that you guys need to know is how to decipher truth, because out there's so many things that are how do you say that information that are not accurate. So if you really wanted to be engaged, first you got to know, I know you have a heart, I could see it already, and normally our youth have heart, right, and the passion to fight for it and to contribute. But know your culture, know your roots, engage with the older generation because they are the treasure. They know everything, they know history, and then use the tool that you have, your expertise in your hand. Amplify your voices using your tools. Internet is such a powerful tool, but learn to decipher what is the truth and what is not.
And Senator Shelley was being diplomatic. How do you say that? I think that's fake news, right? Or disinformation. But thank you so much. And that wraps up our panel. But and this has really been a very interesting conversation. And from the start, I learned a new term today, NRF, non-resident Filipinos. But if I may add, Secretary Ang, I would call myself an SFR, a spouse of a SRF, a spouse of a resident foreigner. So my married surname is McBride, and I have that challenge of having a son that's a dual citizen. So today was really informative as to how I should also rear my child to be very involved as a Filipino. But as a moderator, I have to synthesize our panel for today. So just to start off this panel, Senator Shelley Cavo emphasized that the Filipino diaspora is one of the most significant in the world. And Honorable Tyler Dos Santos Tam asked a very important question. So how do we engage the Filipino immigrants abroad? In addition to political participation, Tyler emphasized that there are a number of ways that we can be involved. There's labor rights, economic empowerment, civic engagement, but he said that solidarity is key. And we saw that through Marizel Rojas's sharing of what ENFID is doing, the European Network of the Philippine Diaspora. We see this engagement in action as ENFID has become a powerful diaspora platform in Europe. They not only engage in cultural diplomatic initiatives, but they also empower the Filipino European youth, and they seek audiences with political figures, and they also protect the environment. So what Marizel said is use us, abuse us for a powerful, to have a more engaging and powerful influence. And so she reminds all of us in September 5, we can all go to Austria. So don't forget that, mark your calendar, September 5. Thank you so much, Marizel. But Larry Acera took us to a journey across the waves where we learned the history of migrants in the United States. But this reminds us all of the hardships and challenges that come with the Philippine diaspora. Larry is third generation, and now they have 6 generations in the United States. And we have Tyler, who's 5th generation, and they now have 7 generations of their family in Hawaii. But amid these challenges, Larry overcame and became a political figure in Vallejo, California. At the time when the American media was telling him that he wouldn't win because he's Filipino. But he says that we have to continue finding our roots. And I think even as a 5th generation, he continues to find his roots. And finally, we heard from Walter Villagonzalo, who lived the migrant journey for 40 years. And he shared with us the problem of the Filipinos in the middle. We are not seen, we are not problematic, but we're just simply there. And even if Filipinos are strong contributors, we are invisible and not fully represented. But what's powerful about what Walter said is that the middle is where we are, but it is not small. And it is growing. And the middle is not a weak place. So for all of us here, let's remember to make this middle stronger. And let's not stay in the middle. Let's be front and center. So that's where I'll end. And I thank so much the CFO for making sure that the Filipinos leave the middle place and become front and center. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Attorney Jimeno, the Honorable Dos Santos Tam, Ms. Magistrado Rojas, Mr. Acera, Mr. Villagonzalo, and Senator Shelly Calvo for sharing your powerful stories of advocacy and the concrete ways you are influencing policy to benefit Filipino communities worldwide. Your work reminds us that the Filipino diaspora is not just present in global politics, you are shaping it. We now invite Chairperson Dante Clink Ang II and USEC Arlene Borja to come on stage to present the tokens to the panelists and moderator in recognition of their valuable insights during the panel discussion. This certificate reads, certificates of appreciation are presented to our moderator and panelists, Attorney Jimeno, Honorable Dos Santos Tam, Ms. Magistrado Rojas, Mr. Acera, Mr. Villagonzalo, and Senator Shelly Calvo, for your contributions as moderator and panel discussions. Amplifying voices, diaspora advocacy, and policy influence at the 2026 Filipino Diaspora Summit held on June 16, 2026 at Manila Marriott Hotel, Metro Manila, Philippines. Signed by Secretary Dante Clink Ang II, Chairperson of the Commission on Filipinos Overseas. Thank you very much. That ends our political engagement panel discussion. We now take a little time as we wait for a short pause. While on pause, we will be witnessing a stellar performance by Filipino singer, recording artist, and performer, Miss Michelle Montes. She is a contract live singer of We Sing Hong Kong. She released her first single, Sinubukan Ko, just last year. Presently, she performs 3 times a week in various countries across Southeast Asia.